What's up, guys and gals? It's the Tyrant here, and welcome back to my weekly Q&A session where you guys ask the questions and I give you the answers. I first off want to wish everyone here a very happy St. Patrick's Day. I hope everyone has a great time today. I do hope that everyone also stays safe and responsible. I want everyone to be safe, but also have a blast while they're at it. So again, happy St. Patrick's Day. Hope you have a great one. Before we get started into this week's Q&A, I want to give a big shout out to my good friend Alien King, who was very generous in donating the game Alien Isolation to me. That was so cool, and I can't wait to play it. I'm a big fan of the Alien franchise, been wanting to play this game for a while, and I look forward to doing videos on this game. Oh, it's going to be so much fun. So thank you so much, Alien King. I really do appreciate it. So let's go ahead and dive right into this. For those of you who don't know how the Q&As work, if you want to submit a question for the Q&A, you can do it in one of three easy ways. Either one, you could ask it in the comment section below. Two, you can hit me up on Twitter at MythicTyrant. Or three, if you're a patron donor, you can have access to our Discord, our very special Discord, and you can ask it in our special section in there. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Our first question of the week comes from LandHalo062. And LandHalo asks, Q&A, if you could have a Halo book made into a game, what would it be? I'd have to say probably either Halo The Fall of Reach or Halo First Strike. Both excellent books by Eric Nyland. Both have excellent narratives and some decent action sequences, and I feel like either one of those books would make a very cool game, maybe both of them perhaps. Maybe something they can revisit after the Reclaimer saga. So excellent question, LandHalo. Thank you. Our next question comes from CodeRed1102, and CodeRed asks, Q&A, should Locke get his own standalone game? Absolutely. In fact, one of the things that I've been saying is that I feel like Halo 5 would have gone over a lot better if the first one had just been called Halo 5, just regular Halo 5, had been centered around the Master Chief reuniting with Blue Team, and their quest to rescue Dr. Halsey from the clutches of Jewel Abdama, and then finding Cortana in the process. I think that would have been really cool. And then Halo 5 Guardians would have been sort of an expansion like Halo 3 ODST, where it would have focused on Fireteam Osiris, their efforts to find Blue Team, and the rise of the Guardians. So I feel like if they did a game based around Locke, it would help us be able to get closer to the character and appreciate the character more. So yes, absolutely, Code Red, and thank you. Our next question comes from Mr. No Life, and Mr. No Life asks, Q&A, should they add the Halo 2 Jackal Sniper into Halo 6 as a joke? Our next question comes from Claude Assassin, and Claude Assassin asks, Q&A, why do the Halo 5 wraiths look so terrible? I'm not bashing 343 on this, but what led them to believe this was a good design choice? So I'm going to let you in on a little secret here. I'm not going to say who, but I have heard it joked internally that at 343 that the wraiths sort of resembled a high-heeled shoe, which now I can't unsee that. And I guess maybe now you can't either. I heard that it was designed that way because they wanted to design the wraith to be lighter and I guess more deployable on the battlefield. But I'm not really sure other than that why they would have gone with that design. It's a pretty radical change from the previous Halo titles. But I do hope that answers your question, Claude Assassin. Thank you. Our next question comes from Jacob Casey, and Jacob asks, Q&A, do you think that they will introduce any interesting new characters in Halo 6? My answer is I hope not. And the main reason I say that is because they introduced way too many characters in Halo 5 Guardians. I mean, basically Halo's gone full-blown Walking Dead here. And I would rather them thin the herd a little bit and focus more on the characters, or focus more on just a couple of characters and make them stand out and be more important to the franchise. That's what I would like to see, rather than introducing a bunch of new ones, or even one major new one. Since we have so many that are already there, let's shed some light on them. So that's my answer to that question, Jacob. Our next question comes from Asking Gamer. And Asking Gamer asks, Q&A, do you think a flood horror game where you play as a Marine could be good for Halo? Yeah, I certainly don't see why not. I mean, it would be a different take on the franchise for sure. But we've already seen something similar with Halo 3 ODST, where you had those dark streets, you were playing as an ODST. I think to make that work, you would have to have a couple of things. One, be an ODST, because you need to have that visor and everything. And two, the character would have to be resilient to the flood, like Sergeant Johnson. simply because otherwise it'd be too easy to get infected. So, but yeah, I can see, like, you know, dark corridors, you know, flood, you know, sort of stalking around the facility. That would be kind of cool. It would be a fun little side game. Our next question comes from Gospel Ghost. And Gospel Ghost asks, Q&A, since June survived Reach and helped with the start of the Spartan 4 program, should they bring him back in Halo 6, even if it's just for a little bit? Yes, absolutely. In fact, you know, interestingly enough, they've already bridged the gap of Halo 3 ODST with the main series, and they're doing the same with Halo Wars. So Reach is really the only outlier at this point. And if Fireteam Osiris is going to be departing for Halo 6, and we're still going to have the squad system. I don't know if we are or not, but let's just say for, you know, sake of conversation that we are going to have the squad system, then he could easily be a very valuable member to that team. It would be really cool to have one of those Spartan 3s, you know, from Reach, joining to help fight against Cortana in Halo 6. I love the idea, and he would certainly be more than qualified. So excellent question, Gospel Ghost. Thank you so much. Our next question comes from that guy across the street. And that guy asks, do you think 343 are writing Osiris out of Halo 6 as the preview of Bad Blood says that Buck has to rejoin Alpha 9 and leave Chief? I think it's possible. It's a shame to see Buck depart from the series because he is definitely one of the most beloved characters. At the same time, as I mentioned earlier, they really do need to thin the herd out and focus more on just a few characters rather than this gigantic cast. Halo 5 had like 20 major characters, some insane number. I'll go over them more in detail in my Halo 5 review or my updated one anyway. But yeah, I mean, I can see, especially if Locke ends up joining the squad with Master Chief, they're going to have to cut out, you know, the dead weight on both Blue Team and Fireteam Osiris. So, yep, that's what I'm thinking right there. And you know what? I'm okay with it. I'm very interested to see where they go with it. So, excellent question. Our next question comes from Spencer. And Spencer asks, Q&A, we can all agree that Halo has a fantastic storyline and has had a consistent one for all 5 major titles, 6 if you count ODST. But when Halo dies, what franchise would become the next Halo in terms of a go-to game? Who benefits from Halo ending? Quite simply put, I think the answer is easy there. Call of Duty is easily Halo's biggest rival. And nowadays it's very interesting. So when I'm striking up a conversation with someone and we start talking about video games, usually the go-to game that they mention is Call of Duty. And it stands to reason because I guess Call of Duty, because it's mostly humans, you know, even with the more futuristic ones, it's just humans versus humans. I guess it's more relatable for some people. At the same time, Call of Duty also releases a new title every year, so it becomes more relevant. Whereas Halo releases a new major title anyway, not counting the side games, once every 3 years on an average basis. And it could be 4 with Halo 6, we don't know. Now, in terms of what I would like to see, if Halo were to end, what franchise I would like to become the go-to is Titanfall. I loved the original one, which was surprising because I don't really typically enjoy multiplayer games, but Titanfall 2 is easily my favorite game of 2016, with the second being Doom 2016. So I would love to see Titanfall have more sequels to it, and if they can maintain a strong fan base, especially with the compelling stories that they can tell, I can easily see that being the new sci-fi shooter of the future. They can do aliens, we've seen them do time travel, a lot of cool things with it, and I'd love to see what they come up with next. Our next question comes from CXC117, and CXC asks, Q&A, Tyrant, what would you say to a Halo game from Noble 6, the one you play as in Reach before he joined Noble Team because of him being on his own as he was a lone wolf? Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea. You know, we heard some, you know, exposition backstory about him in Halo Reach, how he was the only other Spartan aside from Master Chief to be rated as hyper lethal. And I'd certainly love to see why he was rated that. What gave him that title? Was it just the insurrection, or did he actually have a role in the Human Covenant War? I'm sure he probably did have a role in the war, but I'd love to see why. He's certainly an interesting character. I'm sure more people would love to see him. And, of course, since he died in Halo Reach, you can't make a game after that would feature him. So, yeah, I think a prequel would be a great idea. And I hope 343 is writing some of these things down so that they can revisit them after the Reclaimer saga. So, excellent question, my friend. Our next question comes from our very own C-Funk99. Always good to see you, C-Funk. And C-Funk asks, Q&A, even if Halo 6 brings back the classic art style, gameplay, music, a much stronger story, more Master Chief, and many other things we would love to see, could the game itself still fail and be a major disappointment for the Halo fan base as a whole? Of course it can. You know, these are all things that people want, but that doesn't mean that they can still craft the perfect game out of it. When we talk about classic gameplay, I'm sure this also means the removal of Spartan abilities. And so now you got to figure, okay, well, how is the current generation of Halo fans going to react to that? Are they going to react negatively? Are they going to say, hey, yeah, I do like this style better? It's hard to really tell. You know, this is how they, if this is how they started playing Halo, then it may be very tough for them to go back. So that's certainly one take on it. The other is, even if they manage to do all that, you still have to have a perfect story down, and that's something that 343 has had some issues with, I guess. Like, I thought Halo 4 was pretty spot on. I enjoyed it. But a lot of people weren't happy that it took a more personal turn with the Master Chief. Some people weren't happy with the fact that it sort of retconned the existence of humanity. And so I understand to a point. It's interesting. It'll be interesting. This is why I sort of champion the ideology of making Eric Nyland the main writer for Halo 6, because he knows the series pretty well. And I think if anyone can bring it back to its roots, it would be him. The short answer is, I think that they would make a lot of people happy, but it's not a guarantee either. So all we can do is sit and wait and keep looking forward to playing Halo 6. And our final question of the week, our star question, comes from H2 Halo. You know, it's interesting. He said that the H in H2 doesn't stand for Halo. So if you could, let me know in the comment section below, because I'm really curious as to what it stands for. My guess is that it's a play on H2O, so maybe it's hydrogen? I don't know, but I'd love to hear it. Okay, so... or was hydrogen? Yeah, I think hydrogen's H and helium's HE. Okay, so H2 Halo's question is, hey Tyrant, much like how Actman does with his Halo 2 Legendary No Deaths series, why not do Halo 2 Mythic No Deaths? I would really love it. Oh boy, okay. So I'm not really sure. At first I was hesitating on making this the question of the week because it doesn't really promote a lot of discussion, but it's something that I've been asked periodically over the years, and I've basically said no, that there is no future for Halo 2 Mythic on my channel. Before I get into that, I do want to say that I do have a rival series planned for Actman's Legendary quote-unquote No Deaths, and I'll get into that in a little bit. Basically, you know, what Actman is doing right now is really fun to watch. He has a secondary channel, for those of you who don't know, and what he's attempting to do is go through each mission on Legendary and Halo 2 Anniversary without dying, and so far he's up to the Arbiter. Of those, he's only managed to do 2 of them, Cairo Station and the Arbiter. He was unable to complete the missions Outskirts and Metropolis successfully without any deaths. So I have had a series in mind that I was going to do to rival it, where I would basically be doing the same thing, but as the guy who actually wrote the Halo 2 Legendary walkthrough. The main difference is, so he has something going for him too. He's a much better shot than I am. Whereas I'm typically better at exploits and being able to predict what's actually going to happen in the mission. So it'll be interesting, but I thought it would be fun as sort of a response to his series. But to go further into your question, there are 4 main reasons why I haven't really pursued Halo 2 Mythic seriously. And so I'm trying to basically break this down, and I'm using this star question and the title of this video as sort of as a way to prove my point, and I'll get to that in just a little bit. So first of all, the Mythic community at this point will be 10 years old this May. Can you believe it? A decade has gone by since we first started this community. And again, Mythic, for those of you who aren't familiar with the term, is our name for playing the game on Legendary with all skulls on, no saves, no deaths, and scoring enabled in games that actually have scoring. The first reason I want to break down is, and the reason I brought that up is because as the Mythic community as a whole doesn't recognize a few Halo games as having legitimate Mythic difficulty, or a legitimate Mythic difficulty. Those games are Halo Anniversary, Halo 2, Halo 2 Anniversary, and the Halo Wars games. And the main reason for that is because unlike Halo 3 and Halo 3 ATST and Halo Reach and Halo 4 and Halo 5, the skull palette for those games is completely different and wacko. They're basically there as a gimmick. They're not meant to actually play on Legendary with all skulls on. I know this is a little bit deceiving because when the Master Chief Collection came out, you had achievements for doing it, but when the games were initially conceived, that was not the goal. They're basically there to give the game some replay value, to add new ways to play the missions. When you look at Halo 2, it wasn't designed in a way that you could actually get all the skulls and play with all the skulls on. The only way you can really do that efficiently is to basically create, I think it's what, 14 to 15 profiles, different profiles, and then each profile would be saved right before you get the skull, and then you could go on with the skulls themselves. With Halo Anniversary, for example, you just have, when I say crazy skulls, you look at skulls like Pinata, you look at skulls like whichever one like turns off different parts of your reticle. I think it's Malfunction. You know, it's just there as a gimmick. It's not really meant to play on LASO, and it wasn't built for that. Even with Halo 3, and that be the first game that was actually completed successfully on Mythic, they still had it in the back of their minds in the development process that some people would play on Legendary with all skulls on, or at least I should say with all skulls on, because they mentioned this in one of their podcasts. So we know that they at least had it in mind, but not with Halo 2. And so we don't recognize those games as having legitimate Mythic difficulties. That's not to say that you can't do it. I have 2 people in my community that actually managed to beat Halo 2, the vanilla Halo 2, on Legendary with all skulls on single segment. It's an amazing feat. Believe me, I envy them. That's insane that they're able to do that. But the average person just isn't going to have the time or patience to do it, nor is it really practical for most people. So we don't typically acknowledge those, since they don't have the standard skull palette, as actually having legitimate Mythic difficulty. So basically, if you do it, it's for yourself. The second reason is there's actually 2 Halo 2 Mythics at this point. We have the standard Halo 2, and now we have Halo 2 Anniversary. Both games have a completely separate palette of skulls that do different things. In fact, they actually have one skull in common that does different things, and that's the Iron Skull. For Halo 2, it makes enemies more aggressive. For Halo 2 Anniversary, it means that there's no checkpoints. With Halo 2 Anniversary, you also have the Scarab Gun Skull. You know, it just... Basically, I feel like if I did one, that would mean I'd also have to do the other. And so they both have their own pros and cons. With Halo 2, it's like I said before, it's a pain in the ass just to get the skulls to begin with. That could break anybody. It would take you like a good solid hour just to get those skulls, especially with the I Would Have Been Your Daddy skull and having to fight off those waves and waves of Elite Ultras. That's crazy. And some of them have beam rifles too. That still gives... I don't know if games can give you PTSD, but I'm pretty sure that that would give you some right there. And then, of course, with Halo 2 Anniversary, the skulls are already there. I know it can be done because I've seen it done, but wow, the Scarab Gun in close quarter combat, just nightmares. I've actually tried doing the mission Gravemind with the Scarab Gun, and that pissed me off more than just doing the mission the standard way. So the third reason that I want to cite here is that Legendary difficulty is a complete nightmare in Halo 2, and even if you're someone who loves the game, if Halo 2 is your favorite game, and hats off to you if it is, even Actman, someone who did a video praising Halo 2 as much as he did, also did a follow-up video talking about how brutally difficult and unfair Halo 2's Legendary difficulty is. This is even something that's been addressed by Bungie. Basically, Halo 2 cheats when it comes to Legendary, and his tier is Dark Soul tier difficult for a first-person shooter. It's a complete nightmare. I'm not just talking about the Jackal snipers. I'm talking about the elites, how they can just rapid fire their plasma rifles and never have to worry about cooldown. You know, you have enemies that just constantly shoot at you that can take you down in like 2 hits. It's a difficult thing to do. It's actually more tedious than what you have to do with Halo 5 and the gallery shooting. It's crazy. And so with Halo 2 Legendary already being so difficult, I want you to take the concept of the Jackal sniper for a second and how nightmarish that enemy is, and now give that enemy active camouflage, which is what one of those skulls does. I think it's Ivory, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, and then on top of that, you would be cloaking drones, elite rangers. Everything would be invisible. You don't have shields that recharge, but the black eye in that game is a lot more, I guess, flexible in what you can hit to recharge your shield. So that's the one benefit you get from it. But it's just, it would be so brutal. I mean, Halo 2 on Legendary alone, when I did the walkthrough for it, I did it as a favor to my community. At the time, I had already done legendary walkthroughs for every other game that was out. This was, I think, in the middle of 2012. And there really wasn't a lot left to do. I had a high request level for doing a Halo 2 legendary walkthrough. And so just for my fans, I was like, you know what? I got nothing left until Halo 4 comes out, so I'll go ahead and do Halo 2 Legendary. When I went to PAX Prime that year, they even told me, 343 told me that they were surprised. It actually had a little internal conversation saying they were surprised that I was going to do a Halo 2 Legendary walkthrough because of all the things I'd said about the game in the past. So, you know, I did that as a favor to the fans, but this leads into my fourth point. Who's going to watch it? You know, for those of you who have been following my Halo 5 Mythic Difficulty walkthrough, you know it's not been a walk in the park. Some of the missions were, but it's taken me weeks just to do Battle of Sinayan to the point where I finally skipped ahead and started doing other missions. Now imagine that being Halo 2. Now, when I look at the view count for people looking at my Halo 5 Mythic guide, and I only see a few hundred hits per video, that's not very overwhelming considering that I've got almost 40,000 subscribers on this site, which means that they're not interested in seeing that. But it takes a lot of time and effort to do those videos and to make those guides accurate so that people can not only enjoy them, but be able to use them successfully. Now try to do that with Halo 2, a game that I already have trouble with on Legendary. Now put Mythic in on it, and imagine how long it's going to take to do each one of those. The question is it going to be worth the time and the effort? I mean, it's a legitimate question. If I'm going to spend a week or two at a time per mission, would it be worth it in the end? Is anyone even going to watch it? I mean, the answer is I don't know. Because as far as like people asking me, I only get this question every now and then, and it's a legitimate question. I mean, I've done Mythic Difficulty for Halo 3, Halo 3 DST, Halo Reach, Halo 4, and now Halo 5. So why not work backwards, right? But it's just, when I think of a concept that I want to do in terms of a video, I have to ask myself two questions. One is a video that I'm going to have fun making. And the second one is, do people want to see it? Well, here's what I do know. I know that I really wouldn't have a lot of fun diving into Halo 2 on Mythic. I would have to have overwhelming support in it, and I'm just not sure that I would get that. Having said all that, I'll make a deal with you guys, okay? Because I love you, especially my Q&A community. You're so awesome. If the demand is high enough, I will consider it. Now, you're probably asking, how am I going to be able to tell that? The title of this video is going to give it away. If it doesn't receive many hits just because of the title, then that answers your question right there. No one's going to want to watch it because no one's going to find it interesting. But a lot of people would have to find it interesting. I'd have to see, you know, my highest view count for videos on this site is over 1 million views per video, all right? If this video, and this is going to be a stretch for a Q&A, can get over 100,000 views by E3 2018, I will make a commitment to doing Halo 2 on Mythic. Classic Halo 2. And if I can do that, I'll consider doing Halo 2 Anniversary as well. But that's a fat chance. I think the most views a single Q&A has gotten is like 6,000 views, so I wouldn't count on that one. Having said that, and again, this is another stretch. When the site hits 100, if the site can hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, it's not impossible. I saw Actman do it last year. But if the site can actually hit over 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, I will consider it. Primarily because at that point, even if most of my fan base doesn't want to watch it, enough people who subscribe to me probably will at that point. So I don't want to do it right now with only just under 40,000 subscribers and just seeing the view counts for Halo 5 Mythic. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But for, you know, if once my fan base gets large enough, people are more supportive of the idea, or even if they're just supportive of this video, it's something that I will consider revisiting sometime down the road. So I want to hear from you what you think of the idea. Would you like to see me do Halo 2 Mythic? Which one are you interested in seeing me do more, Halo 2 or Halo 2 Anniversary? I would love to hear your thoughts and comments in the comment section below, and I hope you share them with me. Or you can hit me up on Twitter, at MythicTyrant. A link to my Twitter feed can be found in the description below. And I want to take the time to thank each and every one of you for stopping by and sharing your valuable time today with me by watching this video. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, I hope you'll also consider subscribing for more great content right here on MythicTyrant.com. Thank you guys and gals so much for watching. I hope everyone has an excellent weekend and an awesome St. Patrick's Day. I'll catch you all right back here next time. And as always, I'm the Tyrant, signing off.